pass to Johnson. Johnson still going. Dummies again. Johnson. Into the way to Brown. Brown goes in to score.
Ali Salvia down the touchline. Oh, this is unbelievable. They're gonna win it. Oh, what scenes here, what scenes. LeBron James, a shot at history. LeBron stands alone. The NBA's all-time scoring record now belongs to LeBron James.
All right, Surly Talk Sports coming to you on a Friday morning, something a little bit different. Apologies for that. No Thursday morning podcast release, which is the usual time slot. Your boy's been under the pump, had plenty on. Of course, Bloke in a bar on Monday. We'll touch more on that shortly at the start of the league segment. But that was all go. Then rolled into the Wednesday Warriors kit launch and a fair few things going on in between that, which will be announced very shortly. If you're listening Friday morning, early doors, you might not know the news yet. But if you're listening later in the day, then it's probably popped up on my socials. But I'll keep my lips sealed until that all gets announced. But plenty on the plate. Still wanted to pump out a pod, though, just to scratch your weekly sporting itch and give you your Surly fix for the week. And I do have to say as well, shout out to everyone, all the positive comments coming through off the back of Bloke in a Bar. Again, I'll touch more on that shortly, but really appreciate everyone's kind words. And a lot of people that just followed recently on socials or on Spotify, YouTube, and co. So hope you enjoy this week's pod as well. Plenty to get through, of course. Kiwis versus Tonga. What a game that was. What an atmosphere that was. What a result it was. And a heck of a performance from the Kiwis. We've also got this heartbreaking Eli Katoa situation, which I'll touch on a little bit as well. Shout out to the Kiwi Ferns, who really pushed the Kangaroos in the game before that too. The All Blacks, they had a close win against Ireland. Crazy red card. We'll rip into that. Melbourne Cup. Hope you guys were more successful than me on Tuesday. I was gutted for that bloke who had a $7 12-leg multi, with the final leg to come in being a futures bet on Buckaroo to place in the Melbourne Cup to win 700 plus grand he was going to get back off that $7. Man, he nailed 11 of the 12 legs. It was always the final one that was going to fuck him, and I think Buckaroo felt the weight of expectation of that punter and just couldn't go with them. I think it finished near the back of the field, so that was a tough watch. I was heartbroken for the bloke, but still, to even have that bet get that far, that successful, 11 green ticks out of 12 is a rare feat. Hopefully he walked away with at least $7 worth of bonus cash just to make the loss hurt a little less. Speaking of punting and bonus cash, of course, TIB podcast offer for this week. Final game of footy on our TV screens, so we got to go back to the Pac Champs. Kiwis versus Samoa, the final, and the code this week is first. So if you place a first try scorer bet in this game after entering the code first, then you get on board, your player doesn't score first, you'll get your money back in bonus cash up to $20. So the code is first, place a first try, score a bet, player doesn't score first, you get your money back in bonus cash up to $20. That's limit of one per customer, so get amongst it. Your Casey McLeans, your Matty Timokals, they will all be extremely popular, so jump on board. Hopefully you can get yourself a nice little win at 6 p.m. Sunday night. How bloody good. One more piece of admin as well before we rip into things. The old Surly Bowls Day announced late last week. Extremely excited for this one. Tickets go on sale this Friday. So today, if you're listening to this on your Friday, 6 p.m, make sure you jump online, surlytalksport.co.nz. Grab yourself a ticket. Brought to you, of course, by the TAB. They will be there on the day, activating, running promos, giving out bonus cash, all that good stuff. Free tins. We've got Frankie's on board if you haven't tried them yet. Basically, same owner as Pals. It's the sister brand or brother brand to Pals, whatever way you want to look at it, and those things rip. Bloody good drops. The cola and vodka is unreal. If you haven't tried it, highly recommend you do. But stoked to have them on board, providing the Darren Frothiers for the day. That's an absolute treat. We've got a DJ. We've got exclusive Surly merch that you'll get included with your ticket as well. So it's going to be absolute scenes on the greens. Mount Eden Bowls Club, one of the great venues. Pretty flash, but they're just going to let us run amok. So grab your tickets. Friday, 6 p.m. Looking forward to it. It's going to be a great day and can't wait to just tuck the teeth in. It's a Bowls Day. It's a bit of a Surly Christmas party as well. It's just going to be good vibes and good times with bloody good people. So get around it and I'll see you out there for sure. But let's rip in and talk all things the great game, Rugby League. All right, God's game, the game they play in heaven, rugby league. Shit, is it sad to see that this weekend is the last weekend that we will have footy on our TV screens for the rest of this year. Shout out to the teams already in at pre-season. Warriors, Young Bucks already running laps and being put through their paces at pre-season. She's bloody hot outside at the moment too, so no doubt the lads are working up a heck of a sweat. But in that new kit, they look bloody sharp too, and good to see guys like Hazen Mellors. Fuck, he's a big bopper. New recruit from the Rabbitohs, winger, centre, young lad too. Man, he is a big body. So excited to see what he produces for the Wars this year. Harry Inch in early, of course, our new rugby convert. He's going to go great. I was speaking to a few people the other day. 10 in rugby, I reckon he's a 6 in league. And I made that comparison that he could be the next Ethan Strange. Now, that's probably his ceiling, to be fair. Well, not ceiling, but that would be a great outcome. I just see him more as a ball-running 6 that can offload through contact, good kicking game on him as well, and can goal kick, not shy on defence, physical footballer. So I'm really keen to see how he takes to league. Then good to see Bishop Neal in with the big dogs as well. Geez, this kid is an absolute freak, a legit superstar on our hands, and I can't wait to see the player that he develops into as well over the next few years, and under the watchful eye of Webby and his coaching staff. Exciting times for Warriors. But before we get into more of this league chat, I do need to address the old bloke in a bar trip. Start there, because that was a real highlight of my week. Flew across early doors Monday morning, 3:30 a.m, wake up, straight to the airport, landed back about 2 a.m, on your Tuesday morning, so it was pretty much a 24-hour FIFO gig, almost like working in the mines, podcasting, working in the mines. Pretty similar stuff, you could say, but fuck, there's not many things that get me out of bed at 3:30 a.m, but the opportunity to jump on Bloke in a bar is certainly one of those. And when the message came through from Kempy late last week saying he wanted some Kiwi characters in the mixer post that Pacific Champs game against Tonga, I was so quick to reply and say that I would be there. So I was stoked to be invited on, and it was just an unreal experience to get the call up. Had the privilege of meeting Denon, Matty the Waterboy, and Hammy plenty times before. Not plenty, a couple times before. Denon in particular, but Matty and Hammy, met them at Magic Round earlier this year when we shot some content for the Warriors, so that was cool just to link up, spend a little bit more time with them. They're all bloody good lads. And then just being on the podcast, I actually think I'm probably, the first Kiwi on the Monday potty in Bloke in a Bar history. I'll certainly be claiming it anyway, but yeah, there was a couple moments there where you're just yarning with the lads, and in your head you just catch yourself. It's a bit of a pinch me moment where you're like, holy shit, I'm actually on this podcast, because I think it's fair to say from day one, Bloke in a Bar has always been the benchmark. I mentioned it on the Bloke pod too, actually had Kempy on as one of my first potties, so a bit of a full circle moment there. Bloody cool though. I've heard some great feedback as well, YouTube comments, Spotify comments, all really positive. One person called me the Kiwi Roo. Lots of people saying it was nice to hear a Kiwi voice on the pod as well. So pretty stoked with how it all played out, and fingers crossed that's just whetted the appetite for more of that next year. Would love to jump across for a few Mondays throughout the season and just talk some Wars, preach some Warriors gospel, and just give that Kiwi perspective on things. But thoroughly enjoyed it. Thanks to Bloke in a Bar for having me, and hopefully just the start of plenty more things like that, collabs with Aussie creators and things like that in the future. Yeah, she was a bloody dream day, really. Tough scenes flying back. Thunder, lightning. The storm just struck Sydney all of a sudden. I was meant to leave at about 7. Ended up leaving after 9, I think it was. Fair dinkum. Didn't want to fly in the thunder and lightning. Absolutely. They were right to delay the flights, but shit was it tough. Flew back on Jetstar too. Fucking punish, eh? No in-flight entertainment, no food. You just got to strap in for the long haul and hope that you get there in one piece. Got back safely, of course, because here I am talking to you. But yeah, unreal experience. In terms of your rugby league news, of course, Ryan Papenhuyzen announced that he is out from the Melbourne Storm. They've released him from his final year of his contract, and surely all signs here point to an R360 debut. There's been a long chat for a while now that he would be one of the first to make the switch. I've also had it on pretty good authority that a stint in Japanese rugby prior to R360 could well be on the cards too. Of course, Paps recently in Japan on holiday, but perhaps he was scouting out a couple things over there. Then you add in the fact R360 doesn't kick off until about October, so he's got this massive window coming up where he could earn easily $1 million to play half a year of rugby in Japan and just sink his toes into it, dip his toes into the sand and just see what rugby union is all about. So I wouldn't be surprised if that is the route he goes down. I personally can't see him going to any other NRL team, although I know for sure the Dogs and whoever else really would be going crazy for Paps. Personally, I can't blame him. You know, he's aging a little bit. I think he's still only 27 or 28, but when you weigh it up, everything he's done in his career so far, he's won a comp, he's won a Clive, he's not going to make New South Wales or the Kangaroos from here, you wouldn't think. He's had a rough run with injuries too. You only get a limited lifespan in your playing career in footy, so I think he's the perfect example of a bloke that needs to make hay while the sun is shining. And I think it's very hard to knock him for taking up this gig. So Suafa'a probably in the box seat now to wear the one jersey in Melbourne. And to me, this also hints surely at them making a massive money play for someone like a Tino, because he has expressed that he is going to test the open market, got clauses up to his eyeballs in that Titans gig, ex-Melbourne man, and I think winning a comp would be high on his list of things to do yet again off the back of a couple struggling years at the Titans. So that'll be interesting to watch. I think Tui Kamikamica, they needed to try and re-sign him. They'll have the money to do that now too. So yeah, watch this space. It's all go at Melbourne, man. Plenty of moving cards right there. Harry Grant, surely he extends too. He was a November 1 guy, but can't see him going anywhere. Josh Curran, also saw that story. Free to leave the Dogs in the future as well. I found that interesting. He's another November 1 guy, but I just assumed after a pretty big year for the Bulldogs that he would be locked back in, but they've been told he can test the market. I believe Parramatta and St. George were the first couple teams to pop up as interested. Perth Bears no doubt will be in the mixer too. I'd love to see Joshy at Parramatta. I think they've got a good emerging side under Riles, and he's really started to put some dominoes in place. I think with Curran too, he'd just go great guns for them. Suits their style of play, you know, not the biggest middle forward, but fast leg speed, can get an offload, finds his front, and will just give you big minutes, all ticker, good culture guy as well. So I'll be keen to see where he ends up, but that one caught me a little bit off guard. And then this Eli Katoa situation, just need to address that too before we get into our Pac Champs finals preview for this week, because again, spoke about it on Bloke. We did a full debrief as you would expect. So if you want to hear my thoughts on last week's games and you haven't listened to Bloke in a Bar's Monday review yet, then go back in and listen to that now. But the Eli Katoa situation, a bit more has come to light since. A little bit of time has passed since we last spoke about it on Monday. And man, it's honestly sickening that this was ever allowed to happen to a player in the modern game with all the protocols, head knock, HIA, independent doctors, everything that we have in our game to ensure player safety is meant to be priority number one. Clearly that all went out the door in this case, and fuck, it's already a bad result. The bloke's got a brain bleed, he's had to have surgery. It's scary shit, but man, imagine if this was even worse. Imagine if, like, someone passes away because of something like this. That would literally change the game forever. I see he's had his surgery. The Melbourne Storm, their player welfare guy has flown over to be by his side, and no doubt they are ropeable with how this all unfolded too. But you don't have to look far back. Someone like Tamaire Martin, out for 2 or 3 years with a brain bleed as well. It's an incredibly scary and serious situation. And in my opinion, if Peter V'landys is going to dish out a 10-year ban to any player or agent that is in negotiations with R360, then he needs to come down fucking hard on whoever is responsible for this. And it might be more than one person. You know, there might be multiple people that turned a blind eye to this. In particular, that knock in the warm-up. People had to see that. And sometimes you need to save the player from themselves. These guys are so tough. They want to play more than anything. So if you give them the option to play and just do the old, are you sweet to go ones, then of course they're going to say yes. But there are people whose job it is to make calls like that. And someone needs to be held accountable for this. If not one person, then multiple. And as I said, if you're going to give a 10-year ban for talking to a rival sporting code, then this needs to be a lifetime ban for whoever was involved and chose to look the other way. Because that was a scary situation. Just seeing him on the bench, man, like his eyes are full of blood, his face is red, he's got that cut under his eye, and you just see him mouth out like, fuck, I don't feel good, or something along those lines. Imagine being his family, his friends, his teammates. It's just truly heartbreaking. So glad to see Ali has had successful surgery, I believe, and he's on the mend. Our prayers and thoughts are with him, but geez, like, you can't just sweep this one under the rug. People want answers, and I hope we get something through soon. Tongan Rugby League needs to step up big time, put a line in the sand and come down hard on whoever was involved in this. But onto this week's Pac Champs final preview we go, and we are set for an absolute barnstormer. It's a triple header. I believe the Cook Islands are playing South Africa in a Rugby League World Cup qualifier. Surely the Cook Islands get up in that game. Cal Iro and co, they should be way too good. They're actually pretty good against PNG in week 1 too, but good to see South Africa in the mixer, pushing hard to crack the Rugby League World Cup. If they get some of their rugby union lads who aren't making professional systems over there, some of the fringies, the young bucks, to jump across, then absolutely they could be a force in the game in years to come. It just needs to grow the sport there a bit more. But then after that, of course, we have the Kiwi Ferns taking on the Jillaroos. Shout out to the Kiwi Ferns, went great last weekend against the Jillaroos, really pushed them close in what was an arm wrestle of a game. And then we have the main event, Kiwis versus Toa Samoa, 6:05 p.m. kickoff at Combank Stadium. It's a fucking travesty this game is not being played in New Zealand. Mount Smart, Eden Park. I truly believe we could have sold out Eden Park or gone close to. Mount Smart would have sold out for sure. That Tongan crowd on the weekend was insane. And while Tongan fans are next level, I still believe Samoan fans and Kiwi fans would turn out for a final for sure. I get that there's plenty of Samoan fans in Sydney that would have missed out the opportunity to support their team too, but it just seems like, I don't know, Aussie's not in this comp, so games should be played here or in Samoa or in Tonga if that's the route you want to go down. But I just think a real missed opportunity here from the IRL to have this final on Kiwi soil. But anyway, as we see, Stacey Jones, he's listed the same 17 to play as last weekend, or the same 17 that took the field anyway, because of course there were a couple late changes. Keanu Kini, he gets the start at fullback again, got the late call up last week, Thursday, got told he was in, and fuck did he rip and tear. Of course, Kieran Foran, his final game in the 7 jersey for the Kiwis, and forever really in rugby league, his swan song. Shit, would it be good to see him go out as a winner. Dylan Brown, his halves partner in the 6. I reckon he's a genuine sniff at a golden boot. Man of the match in game 1 and game 2. Now, if he can go the perfect slate, or even just be half decent here, you'd have to think his main competition probably Reece Walsh, but he had a tough week last week against England. I thought he was pretty bang average, his worst game in a couple of months. Junior Bolo, but I thought he had some errors in that first test against the Kiwis, outstanding against Tonga. Angus Crichton, he's been really good for Australia, but I feel like Dylan Brown has just been on another level when you compare all their performances so far in the Pac Champs. So if he can be pretty good, then I reckon he would walk away with a golden boot. And then Knights fans, they would start to cream themselves. They've had a golden boot winner and a 2023 Dally M winner in their spine for next year. I would say though, look, it's no coincidence. Dylan Brown playing his best footy now behind this juggernaut of a pack. The Knights, they're going to struggle up front next year, so Knights fans don't get too carried away. Forward pack for the Kiwis, unchanged. Why would you change it? And the bench still strong as fuck. Tamaire Martin, and then you get into the 3 big men. Nafahu White, Aaron Clark, and Mr. Stand on Business, Xavier Willison. That is a scary bench for Samoa. They welcome back Jaden Sewer, who missed their win over Tonga with a concussion, and he comes straight in for Jeremiah Nanai, who was out with a shoulder injury. A bit of a blow there. He scored 2 unreal tries in that game against Tonga. Jazz Tavanga, he is back in the starting side, named in the 9 jersey. Benaya on the bench, but I can't see it playing out that way. Surely the dynamic and just the playmaking ability of Benaya starting in the 9 with Jazz then to come on, play through the middle. He can give Benaya a spell too. He can bring Chanel on at 9. Like, it just makes so much more sense to have Jazz and Benaya swap, and they go with a genuine hooker to start this game. I thought the difference in starting Benaya against Tonga compared to starting Jazz against the Kiwis, and Jazz is a friend of the show, don't get me wrong, but I do think off the bench he will have his biggest impact in this game, so I'm expecting a bit of a late change there. Apart from that, Samoa pretty solid as well, so these are 2 settled sides looking to go back at it. Samoa looking to avenge their loss from round 1, as I said before many times though. Fuck, they potentially could have won that game. Blew a Dean Mariner try and also blew a Brian To'o try. They look so good against Tonga, and then having old mate Terrell May on the bench compared to when they played them the first time, he will have massive impact impact too. You'd have to think off the back of a week off as well. His leg, the hammy, will be well and truly healed, and he will be ready to rip and tear. The battle of the forward packs is going to be insane. Francis Molo, Payne Haas, Jaden Sewer, Simi Sasagi, Junior Polo, Terrell May and Josh Papali up against James Fisher-Harris, Moses Leota, Britton Nikara, Isaiah Papali'i, Joseph Tapune, Nafahu White, Aaron Clark and Xavier Willison. It is big body central. The big boppers are going to be winding up into each other. Zero handbrakes, and that's really going to lay the platform for the win, to be fair. I feel like this Kiwi side, it's so balanced at the moment. Got a perfect mix of power game and then also some razzle-dazzle, some playmaking in the halves, but you got speed, you got X-Factor out wide, Keanu Kini, Matty Timoko, Casey McLean, Jermaine Isaako. Like, those are genuine try-scoring threats right there. When you look at Samoa, they're pretty equally balanced, to be fair. You got RTS, you got Tango, you got To'o, Marina, Taolangi, a good young halves pairing too, Loai and Blaze Talangi as well. So yeah, these two teams on paper pretty evenly matched. I just feel like the Kiwis have really been firing lately, and I like how we come into this off the back of a big performance against Tonga. Samoa with the week off, so it'll be interesting to see if it takes them a couple minutes to hit their straps. But I reckon this is going to be an unreal game to watch. I expect it to be tight. I expect it to be, look, pretty free-flowing. There's going to be some huge collisions and plenty of spirit. Of course, Samoan fans, they booed the haka here at Mount Smart. Can't see that happening over at Combank. Sydney, plenty of Kiwis over there. So if you're living across the ditch, get along and support our lads. Look, either way, either result would be good. I have a soft spot for Samoan. Of course, the boys joke that I am half Samoan at rugby, so always a special place in my heart. You got Jazz, you got Chanel, you got Roger, some great blokes in the mixer there. But look, the Kiwis, they're certainly the team I want to win this one. I would love to see Papa Foreign go out as a winner off the back of a big game and a huge Pac Champs series. That would just be unreal. So shout out to the Kiwi lads. Hopefully we can keep the momentum rolling. And man, watching those Aussie-England game, that second Ashes, Aussie so far from convincing. 69% completion rate. Second week in a row where they've been under 70%. They're making so many uncharacteristic errors. They don't look like they're clicking at all. I would love the winner of this comp to take on Australia. I feel like they are ripe for the picking right now. I reckon Kiwis or Samoa could both take them right down to the wire, if not beat them. And the makeup of this Kiwi side at the moment has me so excited for next year's World Cup. You chuck a Jerome Hughes in there for Kieran Foran at 7. And this team is humming, man. I can't wait to see how we look. And that first game of next year's World Cup, that is going to be an absolute doozy. But plenty going on in the world of rugby league. The final weekend of games on our screens till we get back into some pre-season footy next year. So enjoy it. Soak it up, footy fans. It's going to be a long couple of months, but luckily we've got this whole November 1 window open now. And the great game of rugby league, she keeps dishing up narratives on and off the field. Trent Merrin up to no good with the old Bitcoin scandal. Like, it's literally the game that doesn't sleep. You have to love it. So still plenty of yarn and narrative coming up about your rugby league right up until we finish the pods for the year. But enjoy the last couple of games. Up the Kiwis, up the Kiwi Ferns, and get up the Cook Islands too. Qualify for next year's World Cup. That would be bloody good stuff. All right, Rugby Union, of course, I mentioned last week, Ireland All Blacks, that it was bums on seats, 9 a.m. kickoff slot, perfect time for some Eggs Benedict and some running rugby. Well, it turns out this game, for about 55, 60 odd minutes, she was a real punish. 26 points to 13 it finished for the All Blacks, and a good win in the end in Chicago to avenge that loss that we had to the Irish a couple years back. Another win over our old foes as well. I saw plenty of stories up on social media. Final result, zombie in the background, just really rubbing it in. But I do have to say, man, there were plenty things about this game that at times had me and my DMs lighting up, saying this is why people are turning more and more to rugby league at the moment, because it was a bloody tough sell in terms of a spectacle for a long time there. I thought that red card early doors was fucking crazy stuff, and good to see that since then it's been rescinded. They've taken that one back. There is no way that should be a red card. I thought yellow was even a little bit harsh, but by the letter of the law, it is what it is. I would have been happy happy with penalty, even that, Max. I thought there truly was nothing in this. Yes, it was shoulder to head, but man, there was zero intent at all. And that's what red cards should be for. Foul play purely. Intent to really cause some damage, ill will. You're throwing punches, you're trying to take some bloke's head off. It's a nasty shot with bad intentions. You're just wanting to hurt someone. This was so far from that. And I saw a quote the other day, I can't remember who it was from, so I apologise, but it was bloody good. It said that we brought the TMO in to iron out the howlers, to spot those horrible calls that were missed. Instead, though, it's turned into a bit of an investigation tool. Like, they're going through everything with a fine-tooth comb, trying to find fault where there isn't really fault. It was just a pure accident. And this, for me, was a crazy call that potentially ruined the outcome of this game. I'm so stoked it's 20-minute red cards in international footy now as well, because if the Island were down to 14 men off the back of that, then that would have been an absolute crock of shit. I do have to say the Irish fought hard as a result from that too. They certainly didn't roll over with one less player on the field. They were still well and truly in this contest, and it wasn't until the last 25 to 30 minutes where we really turned it on. I thought the impact off our bench was really good. Tamaiti Williams around the park and at set piece time, scrum time, when he came on, we noticed a massive difference. Him and Tossie, they were all over that Irish forward pack, eating them up for sure. I thought Wallace Satiti made a massive impact when he came on too. Love seeing him in open space. Just such a well-balanced athlete. Power, speed, moves like a midfielder outside back. He's a real treat to watch, man. I thought Lester Whainganuku, speaking of midfield outside back, he was at his ball-running best, just destructive with nut in hand. He is such an attacking weapon to have for us back in our arsenal. So excited to see him continue to wear the black jersey. I thought D-Mac was pretty good off the bench too, just speeds up the tempo, not afraid to roll the dice. And then in terms of our starters, I thought the two usual culprits were really good. And Cammy Roygaard, unreal, nice try there too, but just solid throughout this whole game. And Ardie Savea, man, workhorse. Obviously, Scotty Barrett gone from the game early, as was Geordie, both of them coming home, so a tough day at the office for the Barrett brothers. Bodie, the only one walking off on his own will. Sad to see the other two go, but what that meant, of course, Scotty off the paddock, Ardie becomes skipper. And yeah, I just love having Ardie as our captain. No offense to Scott, I do think he is a good player. I see people questioning his place in the team all the time, and I do get it. He can push the boundaries, but that's his job as a lock, really. You want them being physical and really playing the finer margins, enforcer type stuff. But I love when Ardie's got the captain's armband. He's that leader on and off the paddock, spiritual leader. Plus, he just leads by his actions too, and he was into everything in this game. A couple nice turnovers, scored himself a try, and just seeing him play on the big stage in America just seems like it suits him so well. But overall, pretty underwhelming game. Not the most entertaining game of footy. I think the first half took an hour. The first 40 minutes took an hour. It should never take you 20 plus minutes longer than what the game time allows for you to finish a half of rugby. That is insane. That's how stop-starty it was. Overall, I think it's just a flush job. It's a win. We take it. We kick off our tour and we bank that first leg of 4 in the books. And on the lads' march, looking for improvement for sure. This weekend we head to Murrayfield and what should be a heck of a game up against Scotland. Before that though, a couple other results. Saw the All Blacks 15 got up against the Barbarians. Only saw the highlights of that one, but I thought Caleb Tangito looked deadly out on the wing. Man, we've got so much talent in that position. England, way too good for Australia, 25 points to 7. Bit of a disappointing performance there for the Aussies. South Africa, 61 points to 7. They pumped Japan as expected. Munster, they beat the Argentinian development side 31 points to 28. And Scotland, they just turned it on up against the US. I thought they would. They were treating it as a proper dress rehearsal up against the All Blacks. Still not their 100% starting team. But man, they wasted no time in putting on a cricket score there, 85 points to 0. So really looking forward to this weekend's game up against Scotland in Edinburgh. The lads are making the trip from the States over across into Scottish territory, and I reckon this is going to be sold out for sure. The Scots, they love their rugby. They got a bloody strong team too. I was shocked to see the odds personally, and we'll touch more on that shortly in the punting segment, but the TAB not giving the home side much of a chance. I reckon this one is going to be tight. They're a really good side. They come on in leaps and bounds. And with Finn Russell and co, if he's back in the 10 jersey, they have creativity and Sione Tuipulotu in the midfield. They have some punch. They got strike out wide and a hard-working and pretty big forward pack too. I reckon this is going to be a real test for our lads. I can't see too many changes forced outside of the injuries, of course. Maybe Quinn Tupaia at 12, Lester Whainganuku gets the start at 13. I reckon that would be exciting to see, and a nice little midfield balance there. Then you keep Caleb and Leroy Carter on the wings, Will Jordan at the back. Apart from that, I think they'll run with a pretty similar side. Injuries, of course, in the locking department, so they'll have to make a change there. I actually thought Josh Lord went all right too when he came on, to be fair to him. Normally pretty critical, but I thought he had a decent little outing for sure. But this game is going to be a doozy, as are a couple others too. I think Ireland will be way too strong for Japan, and that should be a bit of a one-sided contest. Samoa, they play Brazil in a Rugby World Cup qualifier at 2 a.m. as well. Surely Samoa can get that one done. It's crazy that they're having to play these extra qualification games. I feel like they've fallen off a shit ton at the moment. And when we look at their players, their team list, it's actually really strong. A couple of my mates in there, Ben Nini and Leturu Tolai, two great Northcote men. But yeah, a little bit shocked to see them having to play these games. I'm really hopeful that they will qualify, of course. Australia will play Italy back in Australia to get the dub in that one. Fiji, they will play England in Twickenham. England looking for some Rugby World Cup revenge there, and surely they will be too good too. And France, South Africa at Stade de France in Paris. That is going to be a barnstormer too. So All Blacks versus Scotland, France versus the Springboks, the two main games to look out for on your Sunday morning. Also wanted to touch on the Super Rugby squads too before we move on into some punting chat. Just bringing them up on my phone as we're doing this live because I do see the squads recently announced. I'll just touch on the New Zealand teams and some acquisitions that they have made. We'll start at the bottom with the Landers, bottom of the country, I mean, not the ladder. Good to see some new recruits and new faces in there. And I do have to say, looking at this team, their backline, unreal, man. Makes me genuinely excited for the future of this team. When you chuck Josh Jacob in there at 10 in 2027, no disrespect to Cam Miller, who's a fucking good footballer, actually. So even next year, they're going to be great. But you chuck a Jacob in there and they'll go to another level as well. It's the forward pack that probably needs a little bit of work. Guys like Lucas Casey on a wider contract deal, but still, if they can pick up a couple more forwards next year, then 2027 looking great for them. 2026 also still looking really good. In terms of most exciting players that I'm keen to see run amok, you got Stanley Solomon moving there. Of course, played some NPC footy for the Wellington Lions this year. NZ under 20s, he ripped up. Just a fast, electric outside back with great footwork. I reckon he's going to be a massive star of the future and certainly has All Black material written all over him. They've also picked up Xavier Tito Harris from Auckland. That kid is a flyer, talented athlete. He is going to be a gun too. They've got Caleb Tangito out there on a wing as well. Jacob Ratamatavuki Nepkins at fullback. Jonah Nariki, let's get freaky. Finn Hurley and Jonah Lowe. That's one of the most stacked outside back groups in the whole competition. So I'm keen to watch them razz it up next year for sure. 10, Cam Miller, he'll do a job for them as well. And then, of course, you got Dylan Pledger, the Pledge Hammer, with Falau Fakatava in the halfbacks battle. So that is going to be a great watch too. Landers, they could become my second favourite team, eh? Might have to get around them. I reckon they're going to be a team for the future, 100%. The Canes, of course, they welcome back Geordie Barrett, which is huge for them. No Irish sabbatical for him this time. He will be in the midfield. Other new additions for them, not too many to be fair, fairly settled. I hate when teams announce their squad list but don't put an asterisk next to the new guys or anything like that. Makes it a little bit harder to spot them out, but there's still some big names in there as you would expect. Of course, Ruben Love in the mixer, Kini Naholo, hopefully he'll be back from his knee injury. Harry Godfrey at 10, but of course he'll be out. Brett Cameron though, so they've still got themselves a nice 10. Cammy Roygaard, he will be back looking to play a full Super Rugby season. Asafo Amor, Peter Lakai and co in the forward pack. So the Canes, they are still pretty damn stacked for sure, and I actually think they punched above their weight this year, so keen to see how they go next year. For the Satyrs, their new recruits, Louis Chapman, he joins in the inside backs, as does James White. They've got a pretty stacked little class there. Outside backs, Toby Bell, he is new, as is Kunawave, he's an exciting talent. Liam Jack in the locks, he also gets his first crack at Super Rugby, but it's a pretty settled squad for the Satyrs, to be fair. They will always be well and truly in the mixer for sure. Your defending champions, always got to keep an eye out for them. For the mighty Auckland Blues, who will not lose, but did plenty of losing last year. I reckon they've got a pretty exciting team as well in the backs. K Banks, he is back at the franchise. Of course, Harbour Heat lad was with the Canes last year, so he's back home. Peter Aki, exciting return for him. I think he's been at Toulouse over in France. Used to play a lot. My first few years of Premier Rugby, he was the 12 for Massey, and fuck me, do I still have PTSD seeing his name pop up on a team sheet. I don't think I've ever been bumped as hard by a player than up against Peter Aki. They used to just run him at 12 or 13, and he'd be going down my channel all day long. Fuck, did I struggle to contain him. The whole team did, to be fair. But, man, he's a hissing ball runner. 34 years old now, so he's getting it on a bit. But, man, he can still play footy. And the team in France, Toulouse, they were gutted to lose him. So this is a great acquisition. Brings some experience to an otherwise pretty young midfield. Shout out to James Cameron as well. Not the director of Avatar and other big movies, but the midfield back from Canterbury, originally from Westlake. Don't know how Harbour let him go. That was heartbreaking stuff. But yeah, good to see him back in the Blues region, and hopefully Harbour can wrangle him back as well, because he is well and truly a talent for the future. In terms of the forward pack, pretty settled stuff. See Stephen Perifeta listed, of course, didn't play any NPC code, so hopefully he can have a healthier year next year. Also noticed in the loose forwards, no mention of Cam Saw 4, but I believe he is signed, so hope to see him in the mix too if he can make a full return to health. Cam Christie, a good Harbour lad, getting a crack. Tristan Cook, put him in a similar category too, so a pretty well balanced side there for the Blues. Not a crazy amount of turnover there, although of course no Rico Ioane away on sabbatical. That is probably the biggest omission. And then for the Chiefs, talk about an exciting team. So good acquisitions there. Kyron Talmoifalau, probably the headliner, along with Lalakai Foketi, who was a massive get. Originally from New Zealand, of course, but been applying his trade over in Australia. He is a heck of a midfielder. Him, Quintu Paia, Daniel Rona, the Virus, that is great competition for two spots there in the midfield. Their outside backs, Amoni Narawa, Etene Nanaisa Toro, Kyron Talmoifalau, Leroy Carter, Liam Coombs-Fabling. Man, are they going to be exciting to watch. I believe Kyron might be weighing up a switch to 15 to replace my good mate and shooter as well. So I'll be keen to see how that plays out. Inside backs, I've added Tapia Cook Savage to the mix. He's been going good for Waikato with Damian McKenzie and Josh Jacob too. So they're stacked there. Jacob probably actually should be playing 10, D-Mac 15. It'll be interesting to see the dynamic there. Of course, Cortez Ratama leads the way in the halfback department with Xavier Rowe. And then just a really strong forward pack overall. Exciting talent, stacked team yet again. Simon Parker from Accounts, Wallace Satiti, Luke Jacobson. You could just keep rattling off names and All Blacks at that. But this Chiefs team, man, every year on paper, I think they're almost unbeatable. This team really strong, though. And D-Mac, 140-odd caps, 30 years old, leading into the eve of a Rugby World Cup year. He should have his hands all over this. We all know he dominates at Super Rugby level, and I reckon next year will be no different. So exciting times for New Zealand Super Rugby fans. These teams, they look good to go, and I can't wait for Super Rugby to kick off next year. They've got their own Super Round 2. I'll be heading down for at least one of the days, whatever days don't clash with the Warriors Anzac game in Wellington. So look forward to seeing a few Christchurch locals and just Super Rugby frothers down there in the mixer as well. How bloody good. Alright, fire up the TAB app, let's have a cheeky little swing. Green ticks on bet slips is always the goal, so let's hope that this weekend can be a lucrative one. We'll start with the Rugby League, as always, Kiwis taking on Toa Samoa at CommBank. Still don't understand why the fuck this game is being played here, but I've already touched on that anyway. New Zealand, $1.64 favourite. Samoa, $2.30. Of course, we bet them just in week one of this competition. Samoa with 2 chances to potentially steal this game from right under our snozzers, but we managed to hang on. The line is 3.5 Rugby League points, so the bookies are expecting a close one in terms of your best back winning team and margins. Kiwis $2.75 for 1 to 12, 13 plus at $3.40. Samoa 1 to 12, $3.15, and 13 plus at $5.40 for your try scorers. Casey McLean, $1.75. I feel like that's actually really good odds for him. 7 tries in 3 games. This kid is a try-scoring machine, an absolute freak. Another one from the Penrith system that just loves scoring meaties. So get around him for sure. You have to have him on your bet slip. Jermaine Isaako, $1.96. Shout out to the person actually on Bloke that corrected me for my pronunciation on that one. I thought it was Isaako, but of course Samoan, so it's Isaako. Apologies right there. He's at $1.96. Brian To'o, it's To'o. Hasn't dotted so far this Pac Champs. You could say he's due, or maybe just a long season really taking a toll on him. $2.10 for him. Murray Talangi, $2.10 as well. And then Dean Mariner, $2.90. My best bets for this one, love Casey McLean. Love myself as well, and Matty Timoko at $3.30. He scored in every game so far in these Pac Champs, and we love an early shift to him. Dylan Brown, Dillbags, on fire at the moment. 3 tries in the first 2 games, paying $3.50 back-to-back. Man of the matches so far. He will be in with a sniff, and so will Simi Sasagi Myballs. $4.50 for him. Second row for Samoa, getting the start. I don't mind that at all. So those are my best bets for your anytime try scorers in terms of first try scorer. The old first code bet for this week. Casey McLean, $7.75, and Matty Timoko at 17s. That is lucrative stuff right there. I feel like we're going to try skin Samoa on the edges. And I think there's going to be points aplenty in this one. I note the over-under isn't too high, 43.5 points. I reckon it could be spot on that. But I'm going Kiwis. I'm going Kiwis 1 to 12. I'm going Casey McLean and Matty Timoko as my try scorers, with one of those as my first. Haven't quite settled on either or, but bonus cash either way if that player doesn't score first, so she is a free swing. Over to the Ashes. England home side series done, paying $6 to get the win in the dead rubber. Australia $1.14. Not many changes. Settled side for Aussie, so I think they will win. And I reckon it's about time they pants them. I'm not sure if they will, though. It just seems like they're having a great old time off-field at the moment. Maybe eyes not so dialed in on the prize. The line is 16.5 at $1.90. I think England might well cover that. Best backed winning team in margin is still Australia 13 plus at $1.57. And surely they click in one of these 3 games. So maybe you snap that up. Your try scorers, though, I like me an Angus Crichton, Gussie Crichton. I reckon he's a bloody good crack. And I also like me a Mark Nwanganetawasi. That bloke is due. Talk about prolific finishers that haven't crossed the chalk this year. Him and To'o, both of them, surely they bagged themselves a try. Jillaroos, $1.20 favourites over the Kiwi Ferns as well at $4.60. We put up a bloody good fight last week, as I mentioned. But I do think on home soil, Jillaroos, too good. Back them in. Try scorers are plenty there. Just go outside backs to salute in what should actually be a bloody good game. Jumping across to your international rugby, Scotland at home, Murrayfield, $3.50 underdogs. All Blacks $1.27. I feel like that's a little bit too harsh. Scotland, they're a bloody good side for me, and we certainly shouldn't be underestimating them. The line of 8.5, I reckon that is a smaller line than what you'd expect for $3.50 odds as well. In terms of your best back winning team in margin, New Zealand 1 to 12, 260, 13 plus 240. That's where the punters are going. Scotland 1 to 12, upset right there, paying $4.60. I like us 1 to 12. I reckon this is going to be a really close game, to be honest with you. Of course, team's not out at time of recording. You guys know the drill. Managed to hit on a Cammy Royds last week. Missed out, though, on a Leroy Carter. Of all blokes to fuck me, I was surprised it was Leroy, but we never give up on Bumfer. We believe in Bumfer. So we're going to run it back. First, second, third try scorer, Leroy Carter, and I'm going to go Royds and Leroy in my same game multis into an All Blacks just on the nose, with my All Blacks 1 to 12, my preferred winning margin bet right there. France versus South Africa. That'll be a goodie straight after it. France 2.15 home underdogs again. South Africa $1.67. Well, I think all the Southern Hemisphere sides favourites this week, so we're expecting a Southern slaughtering of the North. Don't mind that. I do think the box will be too good, but I expect that to be a heck of a game. Argentina clear favourites against Wales, and I don't think they'll struggle to put them away. And England clear favourites against Fiji, but a World Cup redemption on the cards. The bookies reckon Fiji at 10. Lions. I don't think it's their strongest side though, so that is fair enough. So a little international multi there. Go New Zealand, Australia, South Africa, Argentina. We back the Southern Hemisphere to salute for us at decent odds and get us a nice win in your rugby union. A-League, week 4, and fuck, this is the game that Kiwi footy fans are absolutely frothing for. It's the only one that we will care about in this weekend's soccer football. Of course, Monday morning, Liverpool taking on Man City. Now that is a doozy and bums on seats stuff for sure. I'll certainly be waking up nice and early for that one. But in the meantime, of course, we get Saturday night, Wellington Phoenix up against the AFC. Phoenix paying $4.25 at home. AFC $1.75. Of course, the Phoenix, they've had an interesting start. The 1 win, 2 draws and a loss, whereas we've gone back-to-back wins to kick off our loss and draw to start things off. We're $1.75, as I mentioned, on the road to get that. So look, if we're trying to extract some value out of there, normally I like to go the double result, win or draw, but I think $1.75, that's getting slim, so we have to ride that in. And then I'm going to go the under total goals of 2.5 at $1.91. I'm hoping she's a 2-0 or a 1-0, 2-1, and we're fucked there, but I don't mind that. And then exact score, I'm running back 2-0 until she fucking hits. Surely that thing is due, and let's hope it salutes. And then the Black Caps, of course, look, a tough loss on Wednesday night. Was over the road at the season kit launch for the Mighty Warriors, and I have to say, it looked like there weren't too many punters in the crowd. She was a Daryl Tuffy of a night to get bums on seats at Eden Park, but we run it back again. Actually, they're playing tonight, Thursday night, as I'm recording this. That seems pretty fucking crazy. 2 games in 2 days. Eden Park again, so fuck. They are jamming that series. And Sunday night, we will play our third T20 down in Nelson. So that's the one we'll punt on. We'll back New Zealand in there to get the win. Dazza Mitchell as our leading run scorer. And that'll be our 2 punts on the cricket. In terms of your Friday NBA slate, let's have a quick little look at those games as well. Not as prepared as I have been in other editions of the pod. Just the one game. Clippers versus Suns. That's rare. 1 game slate. Let's back in the Clippers. On the road, underdogs, $2.10. The Suns fucking suck though. To be fair, both of these teams not tracking too well. Clippers in 9th, Suns in 12th. Let's go the Clips for a bit of value. Why not? Just hope they can shut down Devin Booker. He's a one-man offense. And let's hope the old boys, the retirement home, the LA Clippers, can get the dub there. Shout out to the Lakers, growing great guns, racking up some big wins. When DeAndre Ayton's going off, I'll dominate him, then you know things are really going your way. We've had a horrible start with injuries too, but that hasn't stopped the dubs from rolling. Fuck, has it been an interesting start to the season, man. The Chicago Bulls, Josh Giddey. Holy shit, he has been insane. Giannis has been going nuts for the Bucks. There's been some big individual numbers being put up. You love to see it. It's a heck of a competition. Same as the NFL. Trade deadline the other day. Crazy. Sauce Gardner gone to the Colts. The strong just got stronger, but they gave up 2 first-round draft picks. It's all go in the world of American sport at the moment. MLB, that final series was crazy. Dodgers win it in 7. Heart-wrenching stuff for the Blue Jays. Yeah, American sport. I feel like ice hockey probably lowest ranked for me, then MLB, then NFL, then NBA, but fuck, all of them so entertaining to watch for sure. But plenty of sports still to punt on this weekend. Missed off a couple right there, but Pac Champs, number 1 in my heart, number 1 on my bet slips. All Blacks, hot on their tails, and then we'll roll that into some A-League, get up the mighty AFC. Hopefully a 2-0 win, so we hit on the head-to-head exact margin and the unders. That would be a real treat. But as always, gamble responsibly, and thanks to the TAB. So that's us for another edition of STS, a little bit shorter and sharper this week. As I mentioned, apologies, just a fair bit going on, but we'll be back with a full-length pod again next week. Dive into the last weekend of God's game. How fucking sad is that? Although pre-season back in the mixer. Still plenty of sport though, so we'll dissect all of that on next week's pod. Remember to use the code again first in this weekend's game, your last rugby league, TAB code. Shout out to them. And also remember to get your Bowls Day tickets Friday night, 6 p.m. You don't want to miss out on this one. She's going to be a fucking beauty. But until then, catch you next week. Go well, stay safe, and good luck on the old Carmichael punt.